everybody. Welcome to another episode of Better Days Reign. I'm your host, Shawn Daniell. Today we have Tyler Valentine
What is up?
in the studio.
Don't
We're
know.
gonna do some, chopping it up. We're gonna do a little storytelling. Today we're gonna talk about the difficulties of reclaiming identity.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
So I think a big part of reclaiming identity is giving a little backstory to it.
Oh yeah. Yeah, for
you know
sure.
what I
Some
mean. And
some
so
context.
yeah, perspective. A
A
little
little
bit.
bit. A little bit.
So Tyler, bro,
Don't know.
tell me your story, bro.
No. All right. Well, born and raised here in Amarillo. Stayed with my grandparents till I was about 6 years old, and then lived with my mom for a while. Kind of had a rocky childhood. I think we all did, though. Everyone's got. No one grew up in a perfect childhood, and if you did, I really don't envy you actually. Because I feel like the hardships and things I had to learn as a child is, my mom kind of had her problems. I got moved around a lot. It's pretty chaotic. And then in '99, I went to Boys Ranch, and I lived there until I graduated high school, which is 2007. And which, man, I thank God every day for my grandparents making my mom put me out there, because I mean, as bad as I did get, it could have happened a lot sooner. So that was good for me. Then I graduated and got out in the world. I had a scholarship to Texas Tech for choir, and then life happened, and I found alcohol and drugs, and I became
Hold on.
yeah,
Scholarship for choir.
yeah, dude.
Somehow I don't see you as a choir singer.
Dude, I was classically trained I classically trained in choir from the time I was 9 until I graduated high school.
Okay.
And then when I was a kid, I learned how to play guitar, drums, piano, and yeah. I learned at a pretty early age that I had a real aptitude for music.
Yeah.
So, and I always thought, especially in high school, I was going to end up being a famous musician, which now we're trying to, we're inkling that dream back. But then I got out in the world, and funny story, my first job after high school was at Buffalo Wild Wings. I opened that Buffalo Wild Wings on Coulter.
Okay.
And I ran that place for a while. I was 18 years old, and I became a kitchen lead, and I was running the kitchen already at 18. I figured out that I was really good at this job.
Right.
So I just kind of stuck in it. And then in the restaurant industry, it's chock full of a lot of addiction, alcoholism especially. And then, just after years of working in the restaurant industry, you just start slipping down that slope. And then after I turned 21, it was fucking on and popping.
Right.
And then, really cocaine and drugs didn't really play a huge factor until I turned after 25, about 26, 27. And then cocaine became it was like a weekly thing or a bi-weekly thing.
Yeah.
And then towards the end, it became I had to have it every day.
Right.
It was
So it kind of started off like a weekend warrior thing, and
it started off a couple
key off into a whole bunch.
a couple key bumps in the bathroom, and then it turned into buying a 20, and then towards the end of it, I was getting I was buying larger amounts very frequently,
Right.
and so that really, I feel like my addiction into cocaine really, or my soiree into cocaine, if you will, really fueled the alcohol. It kind of put gasoline on the whole alcohol thing.
Right.
And because, when you're at the bar and you're drinking, you feel like you're getting too wasted, but you don't want the good times to end. Well, you can always go to the bathroom, and it's like you come back out, you're like, let's do it again.
Right.
And that vicious cycle happened for years. And then eventually last summer, June 13th, I got in a car wreck that almost killed me and the person driving. Nobody else was involved. It was just us. We were both wasted, and she was more wasted than I was. She was driving, wasn't paying attention to the road, and we slammed into a ditch going 65 miles an hour. And I'm stuck in a hospital for a month after that, and I had a lot of bad injuries. I destroyed my ankle, leg was broken, had to get a new hip. My wrist was completely shot. They basically had to reconstruct my wrist. Arm was broken. Compounding of a lot of injuries. And man, it was in that month that I was in the hospital. If you look in the Bible, the story of Jacob having to fight God all night.
Yeah.
I felt like I was doing that for a whole month in the hospital, and I don't think it was so much of me fighting back, more like me kind of getting my ass kicked.
Yeah.
And it was in that, it was the third day I was there. Um, when I could actually remember what the hell was going on, because I went through 5 or 6 surgeries in the first 2 days.
Right.
And well, it was like 3 or 4 surgeries. No, 4, 5, 6 surgeries, somewhere along that. I can't really remember. But I remember waking up and my mom, my dad, my grandma all came down from Nebraska, and they came in the room, and I remember, and like there's sometimes they say God speaks through you, and these were not my words. This is not what was going to come out of my mouth. But what came out of my mouth next was, I cannot drink anymore. I have to stop. This has almost killed me. And man, that was a tough moment. But my brother told me, he was like, I've never heard your voice. Like, that sound has never came out of your voice. And I was like, what are you talking about? And he was like, well, I've never heard you use that tone. I've never heard you even speak that way. It was like somebody, like you had somebody else's voice. Granted, I was groggy from surgeries, and I was probably dehydrated as shit. And so I probably sounded more like Fran Drescher than Tyler Valentine at that point.
It's that surrender that we're not used to.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just that cry for help. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it felt like in that moment when I said that, I knew I was serious.
Yeah.
And that's when the work started. And it's easy to get through the DTs and stuff when you're in a hospital bed being pumped full of pain medication. Right. So I thank God for that, because there are a lot of other people who have had it way, way worse recovering, having to do that without, a hospital or anything like that.
Oh, man,
so
my DTs were so bad.
Yeah, yeah.
So I have Crohn's disease, and then I also have cirrhosis.
Oh man,
on top of suds.
That's
right?
A bad peanut butter and jelly sandwich,
And
bro.
so when I came off of heroin, like I think like the normal come down's about 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Mine was like the better half of a year.
Oh,
so I mean,
and heroin just locks into your system a lot worse than anything else.
I had a lot of internal bleeding that it caused.
Oh,
and
yeah.
So I as my DTs, as I went further and further, I got worse and worse. You know what I mean? Like my condition was steadily getting worse.
Yeah.
Daily. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's kind of like what you're saying, that cry for help. I remember laying in bed and staring up at the ceiling fan. My mom had just kind of snuck in, and she opened up the door just far enough to see if I was still alive.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it didn't interrupt me or nothing, but I was staring at the ceiling fan, and I prayed to God, and I prayed, and I told him, I said, man, take my life or give me something better.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I have faith today. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm not saying like everything just got better after that.
No, definitely doesn't. No.
You know what I mean? But start seeing life through a different perspective. You know what I mean? And, and you're kind of you can feel it at that point.
Mm-hmm.
It's a feeling. You know what I'm saying? When when there's no more fight in you.
Yeah, I was, and like at that point, I was so just laying in the hospital bed, and it was like right after my family left, and then now I'm alone in this hospital bed at like 1 a.m. at night, and my sleep schedule's all sorts of fucked off.
Yeah.
At this point, I'm drinking coffee at 2 a.m, and then and so that night I just sat there. And for the first time, since I was in high school, I opened a Bible.
Yeah.
And then I just, I can't even tell you what I was reading at the time. I just started reading, and then it was just this cycle of me knowing that that I've made a decision, and then I have to stick with it. In the hospital, it's easy, because I'm constantly being watched.
Right.
And like even when I was in the hospital, the weird thing is that I had a couple people send me text messages, and they were like, "Hey man, if you need us to bring you some shooters or something up there," like that option was on the table, and I told them in the most positive, loving ways I could. I was like, "Listen, if you're gonna come up here with that, don't come see me. Don't approach me. Don't talk to me. If you're gonna come into my room and you're gonna smell like alcohol, don't show up. Don't show up wasted. Like I cannot have. And like for a while there, God blessed me in the hospital to have this like protective shell around me to internalize and deal with what I needed to do with going through the immense amount of pain I was in.
Let me ask you something. What was so when you get through the DTs, right?
Mm-hmm.
And because that's really the focus when you first get sober.
Yeah, it's
like
just
the
getting
focus
through
is
hell.
just getting through hell, right?
Yeah.
What was it like for you to have to? We've talked about this in the rooms, right?
Mm-hmm.
How hard was it for you to not hate yourself?
Man,
We talk about we've had these conversations.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And it's
I
difficult because you don't realize. I mean, you know what was done, right?
Oh yeah.
But you don't realize that how bad it really got. You know what I mean? And how far you just drift from God and get all
me and God didn't have
freaking out of whack.
Me and God didn't have a conversation for 15 years. I mean, like it was it was like when I was,
right
it was like as soon as I graduated high school, I was like, oh, that church shit's behind me. Like I've got a life to live. Also, I was a pretty staunch atheist in my 20s, my early 20s especially. And then, I feel like that starts tapering off when you start experiencing life more and you're like, not everything's this black and white. There's a lot of shades of gray. And I feel, like toward when I got closer to 30, it was more agnostic.
Yeah.
I was like, dude, there is something bigger out there. I just don't think we understand. Like, there's no way we can understand what it is. Like with our tiny little human brains, you think we can comprehend all that is? No. And then the night that wreck happened, this is very personal for me, and I've talked about it in the rooms a couple times to a couple people, but I'd like to say it on this podcast because if anybody's ever experienced something like this, you'll know how infinitely powerful it can be in your life. But when I got home from the hospital, after about a month, I got home from the hospital, I started having nightmares and remembering the entire wreck. Yeah. I remember us hitting the ditch. I remember me being pulled out with bones out of my leg. I remember screaming. I remember the block of the engine coming in and smashing me. I remember the airbags hitting me and breaking my ribs. I remember it all. I didn't, the way on the hospital was spotty because I was in and out the whole time. But in this dream that I've constantly had, and I can remember everything in it, there was a point in time where I saw myself on the table. And this is no smoke up anybody's ass, no bullshit. This is like, and if anybody makes up a story like this, like, you're an asshole. But this is kind of, yeah, like really, because like, I mean, there are people that are going to tell a story like this,
yeah,
and it's a lot for attention. And this is me for like this. I know emphatically in my head that this happened, and but I saw myself on that table. But the thing with it is, I don't know who the hell I was. I didn't know where I was. All I know is like I was above a table and somebody was fucked up, and in that moment, I didn't know who it was, obviously.
Yeah.
And then when they were doing surgery right here, you can see the incisions right here. When they went to go make this incision and moved my arm over, I saw my tattoo. And I instantly knew who I was.
Right.
And in that moment, I went somewhere else. Like, I wasn't here. I wasn't there. I was in a different dimension, whatever the hell you want to call where I was pulled. And, like, and it's, yeah, you have no body. Like, I had no body. It was just, I was there. And then when they say God has a conversation with you, and granted, God, universe, source, everybody can call it what they want. What's more comfortable for you, call it that if it makes you a better person. But all I know is me and something greater than myself had a conversation in a color in which I cannot describe. Like, I just felt I was covered in this color that, like, I've never seen in my life. And I don't think earthly, it could be recreated. And I was in this color, and all I know, and like you hear God talking to you, and it's not words, like it's through emotion, and like just unconscious, like conscious thought.
Right.
And in this, like, and when I remembered that, and I was having those nightmares, every time I would have that nightmare, I would have that experience every time, and it was like, God, reinforcing this idea in my brain. Is like, remember the pain, remember what remember what it felt like. Because when I was in that moment, I've never felt an ounce of love like that in my life.
Yeah.
Like,
I still get nightmares, bro.
Like the best feeling you could ever have, times that by an incalculable amount of numbers, and that's what I was feeling in that moment. Yep. And I did not want to go. But eventually, I knew I was coming back. There was no in these whatever I was in, I knew I was there temporarily. Right. Like this is very temporary. And it felt like I was there for hours. Yeah. But I was only out on the table for like maybe 2 seconds. And I think in that 2 second, and time doesn't exist. Like, I mean, it's really a man-made construct. Right. So in that time, there is no time. Right. And so it felt like I was there for hours. Right. But I was there for 2 seconds. Yep. And when I started remembering that, man, it just started really reinforcing that message. Because, I mean, I was staying sober. I moved in with my family, who are like sentinels for my sobriety, really. Like they took all the alcohol out of the house. They don't drink around me. You know, like God bless me with the best support system that a person in my situation could ever have. Granted, I had metal coming out of my leg and I was in constant pain all the time, but that's what I had to pay to understand how grateful I need to be for the system that I got placed around me.
And you can't call it fact, right? Because there are people who face this by themselves.
Yeah.
And they come out of it. But like
those are some tough people, man.
I'm a firm believer, bro. Like support systems matter.
You gotta have it. Like
and caring people matter. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of cruelty in the world. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. And it's just prevalent to us through like media and social media. Well, all we see is bad, man, because that's something that makes dollars, you know?
When you look at what's the problem with recovery, and it's that first step.
Oh yeah.
Okay. And that first step is so hard because it's not what I tell you that's so hard, but it's what people do with the information given.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And we as a people who have this totally misguided, misconstrued concept of accountability, we absolutely use that to bury people.
Mm-hmm.
Just annihilate them. From the floor up, this desire to expose people, and you know what I mean?
Yeah, the need to feel better than for some reason.
You know what I mean? It destroys people. And when you look at addiction out of control, mental health is out of control. Like it's no wonder why it's out of the way it is.
Yeah, and I feel like with addiction and mental health, I mean, there's like peas and carrots. They really go hand in hand.
Oh, there's absolutely.
Because there's no mentally stable person that just thinks, hey, I want to do meth and become an alcoholic. Like that's just, there are things that lead up to those decisions and to the justification in your head really for those decisions, you know? And that's really, for me, that's a lesson I've been learning in recovery, is to pull yourself out of that victim mentality. Like, woe is me. That victim mentality is driven by fear, and fear initially is the root cause of pretty much every bad decision, I feel like. And I think you can agree, is that absolutely. Every evil thing that's ever been done is based out of fear somewhere.
And, that's why I get, in my recovery, I'm so thankful. Like, that was literally the very first thing I grasped before I grasped anything else.
Mm-hmm.
Like, when people showed me unconditional love, when they just started loving on me, when I hated myself, when I was at my lowest, and they just was like, bro, we got you. Like, that changed my life.
Yeah.
I saw it, and then...
You're like, why?
You do. You don't understand why. You don't understand why because you know the person you were.
And then you come to, like, I feel like there's times where, like, I'll come and I'll start trying to give him reasons of, like, dude, you don't need to care that much. And then I realize, dude, I'm blocking God's blessing right now. I need to get out of my own damn way and just let people love me, you know?
Well, and I think, too, like, I think that's where another part in it is like, people say, why should I do this for somebody? You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And God calls me to be a faithful servant, you know what I'm saying? And I'm just learning, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not saying I'm this holy roller.
Oh, dude, I'm baby legs when it comes to this,
I do understand that concept. God calls me to be a faithful servant in all things.
Yeah.
So it's my calling to be a blessing on people. It's up to them how they take their blessing.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And
but coming from where I come from, it's not my mission to make life harder on people. My mission to make life better for people.
Yeah.
You
And
know what I mean?
I feel like,
And it's that undeserving quality
mm-hmm.
that I think addicts carry because we do feel undeserving of
Yeah.
grace and forgiveness
Mm-hmm.
and for help, right?
Yeah.
And when we get it,
It's weird to us.
it is more valuable than $1 million.
Yeah. And I feel like in my instance, like, man, I had a loving support system really through my entire alcoholism. But the problem is like I was so ashamed for them to see me. I would go off on benders and not talk to my family for months.
Oh yeah,
And then that my brother would come knocking on my door
yeah,
after him not hearing from me for a month and being like, "Dude, what the fuck?"
yeah. My dad always told me, he was like, well, so my dad and my sister, my dad would always tell me, no news from Shawn is good news,
Mm.
because if they ever heard from me, it was
It's usually like, "Hey, can you bail me out?" Or
yeah. Well,
like,
no, my dad wasn't that type. My
"Yep,
dad was
no,
like, nope, you
no."
got
My
yourself
family
there.
wasn't either. Like, you
You
get
know
your
what I
ass in
mean?
there, you're gonna get your ass
You're gonna
out.
keep messing up. I'm not gonna now. Granted, my situation with my dad has changed dramatically, and my dad is a huge support system for me today.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And you know, even with the problems that I have today, like he is solid behind me, and super thankful for that. But like even my sister, when I was in heavy addiction, we would just do statewide warrant search
Yeah, I'd be
to
like, "Where's
see,
he at?"
yeah, just where's he locked up at? You
Yeah,
know what I mean?
where's he at?
I'll write him a letter. You know, so and when you start again, man, that support system is huge. You know, when my dad came to me and said he was proud of me, which was uh what? Well, it was on my birthday. So it was in December.
Mm-hmm.
No, November 30th. It was at my wedding.
Oh,
It was at my wedding
that's a good time to do it.
when me and Sammy got married, and he came up to me. And he was just like, "I'm proud of you. I can get behind you." And dude, when he did that, it gave me peace, bro.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it
Mm-hmm.
gave me more peace than anything any recovery program could have ever gave me. Was just to know my dad was.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Like
And it's funny. I've been working on step 10, and the number one on my list was my brother,
yeah,
because the night of my car wreck, his mom died that morning,
right.
and I show up at. They come pick me up. They call me. They let me know. So I lose my shit. And then, so what does an alcoholic and an addict do when they're dealt an adverse situation? Dude, I did 3 bumps of coke and I took 4 or 5 shots before they even picked me up. And I
Yeah,
got in. I didn't even change out of fucking pajama pants, bro.
yeah,
And like we show up to the nursing home and I'm fucking reeking alcohol. And I'm, everybody's super hyper emotional. Everybody's, and man, this is something that, like, and then that night, my brother needed me there, and I decided, I had my roommate pick me up because I didn't have any coke with me.
yeah,
And how am I gonna deal with this situation without alcohol? We had alcohol, that's fine.
yeah.
Like we had dinner, but I needed dessert. Like that's what it was for me. It was
Yeah.
like alcohol was dinner and coke was dessert. And I didn't have dessert, so I made my roommate come pick me up, and I knew she was fucking trash, but selfishness shit, and she didn't fucking care. We drove drunk all the time,
Yeah.
so this is an everyday thing for us.
Yeah.
And picked me up, and then we got in that car wreck, and when my brother needed me the most, the selfishness of my addiction overdrove my love for my family, and I think that was another calling card that I had to go through in my head in the hospital, was how to deal with the guilt of what that happened. And now that I'm working step 10. He was the first one in my book to make amends to. And it was really crazy how it happened, because I talked to my sponsor, and because that's what said we were in the back room at Moss, and he was like, who are the people? Because like I was having trouble with that step, because I was putting people on that list that didn't need my apology. Like people, he was like, no, I think you read the step wrong. People you've harmed. And the people I was putting on there were people I thought I disappointed. I didn't harm them. I may have disappointed them, but I didn't harm them. Now the first person in my brain was my brother. All the years I've emotionally hurt him. Just all the bullshit I put him through.
Yeah.
And funny, we're sitting there during the meeting. Well, right before the meeting, and he texts me. He's like, "Hey, I'll come pick you up from AA today." And I was all like, it was like God gave me the perfect fucking opportunity. Me,
Yeah.
him alone in a truck, and I was like, "You work fast, bro. You work fast." And then it's funny because the couple other situations that I felt that I needed to deal with on that list, they kind of just dealt themselves. You
Right.
know, like
Right.
an ex that I needed that I just, was in my life in and out, and I was doing it to her because I was too afraid to just tell her that I didn't have the same feelings, and just getting over that shit. And it was like God helped me deal with two situations, like three situations, bang, bang, bang. And it was because I was willing to be like, all right, let's get this out of the way because I'm not going to grow as a person until I get these out of the way. And my brother obviously wholeheartedly forgave me. I mean, he was like, dude, I forgive you. I forgive you. And I was like, well, I needed to hear that so I could forgive myself.
Right.
And that's really where I feel like a lot of people miss that step. Is like when you go do that, you're not just doing that person a service. You're doing yourself by pulling that weight of guilt off you. Whether they accept your apology or not is not that's God's problem. That's God's deal. But the fact that you laid it out and you've gotten that bear and you've taken that weight off of yourself gives you a lot more freedom to move further into life than having all that shit weigh you down, because it's hard to like get on the plane if you're carrying everybody else's baggage.
Well, so you know me, I work on this unconditional love concept, nowadays, and I've really grasped it. It started with forgiveness.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And it didn't really. I didn't know how to forgive somebody for what they did to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Felt railroaded. I still feel railroaded. I'm gonna be 100% honest. You know what I mean? But I didn't know how to forgive, and I knew if I couldn't forgive, it was gonna destroy me. Like I
Mm-hmm.
knew it off the rip. Like it was something that just tore at my soul, and I felt it. You know what I mean? Like I
Yeah.
knew something. I was gonna go way left. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I remember praying to God, and I remember asking him like, how do I forgive? How do I forgive this? And I read a couple books after that. Um, one was called Martyrs for Jesus, and in this book, it's like 300 of the most god awful stories you could ever read. They're like real short stories.
Yeah.
But I mean, they're horrible stories about people who died in the name of Jesus Christ. I mean, they are awful, right? But in the back of this book, it talks about missionary
Mm-hmm.
in every country on the globe, and it was talking about how what I'm saying, and you'd be amazed if you don't live in modern Europe or the United States. Christianity is suffering. Like the word of God is suffering. It is almost choked out
Yeah.
completely. Like it was horrible. Like you read it and it's just like, I mean,
Like broadening your perspective on, because
well, so we talk about finding purpose and finding meaning.
yeah.
When I got to that part of the book and I started looking at all this stuff, and I had already kind of had a foundation in recovery. You know what I'm saying? I did have a slip. You know what I mean? Well, it was a big slip. It was more like a crash.
Mm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I had already had this notion in my head of what I wanted to do. My addiction trapped me from doing it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But in that moment, at the end of that book, I felt my calling. I was like, God's calling me.
Yeah. You got to
And,
do.
that's what started all this. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that was the creation of all this. And
Which good job, buddy.
you know what I'm saying? Like I started went to school. I got certified in some things. I educated myself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And in doing that and understanding purpose and meaning, I was able to forgive that person, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because of the good that came from it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was a really horrible thing, and it's still a really horrible thing that's hanging over my head. But when you look at what's happened since then, bro,
That's God's work, man.
man, it is just amazing. And it's in a short time. It's in such a short time that all this has come together, just understanding forgiveness. And forgiveness needs to be rooted in all things.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying? When we talk about unconditional love, you can't love somebody unconditionally unless you can forgive them.
That's true.
And if when I realized God forgave me for all the bad things that I did in my life, it seemed really easy to forgive everyone who ever did me wrong in mine, no matter what they did. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When you're out there, I mean, we do all kinds of shady stuff. You know what I mean? But
Mhm.
when I understood God's forgiveness for me, and I wanted to align my hustle with God's hustle, I was able to. And it's still hard because
Yeah.
there's times we forgive and then we want to snatch it right back off the shelf the next day.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? Because it doesn't just go away. Especially a lot of people just don't know how to leave stuff alone.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But it's hard. It's a daily reprieve. Like you have.
Mine and see, like with my experiences, I've never been. It's weird. I've never had a problem forgiving people, and I think that externally, like overflowed because I still don't know if I've fully forgiven myself because I always play myself. I don't know why, man. I've always I'm trying to figure out where it comes from through meditation and prayer, and it had to come something from my childhood. But I always feel like I'm always in the wrong somewhere, and like there's always red in the ledger, and like, and I use it when I was an alcohol, or no, I'm still an alcoholic. Let's be real. I mean, we're in recovery, but when I was drinking and I was really bad, I would use helping everybody before myself as kind of like a shield, keep everybody off my ass about my problems. Because, you know, if you're helping people pay their bills, or you're buying people drinks, or you're buying people drugs, or you're willing to do whatever for somebody, there's a lot less chance of them being like, you're an alcoholic and you have a problem. So it was an easy way to keep people off my ass. And that was my defense mechanism for keeping people off my ass, which
Well, I
was
mean,
which was like,
that's common, bro.
yeah, and it was just like it got to a point where like at one point I was just servicing everybody else, and the only way I would service myself was not really serving myself at all, which was just like you're just throwing myself straight in, like, oh, well, I'm just gonna drink until I pass out and wake up and start drinking again today, you
Well, I
know?
mean, I can sit there and tell you every time somebody gave me money or every time somebody gave me something, I took advantage of it every single time.
Yeah.
Um, my concept of love and recovery changed when people actually started walking. You
Hmm.
know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because I mean, there's a difference from me telling you how to live and then me walking with you and showing you a better way
Yeah.
to.
Being an example.
You know what I mean? And so when people started doing that, and I hate that it didn't happen until I was 40 years old, because I was in that world,
Some of us learn late in life.
and hopefully it's not too late.
Yeah, mine. Yeah,
But
I mean, mine hit at 34. So yeah.
you know what I mean? But it makes a difference. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? When people go out of their way to do something genuine for no benefit to themselves,
Hmm.
it becomes really inspirational.
Yeah.
And much love and much gratitude to everybody who is stuck beside me and walked with me, because you get that undeserving feeling
Yeah.
that you don't deserve it, and you get swallowed up in fear, you get swallowed up in doubt,
Oh yeah. Yeah. I gotta
and
fight it off daily.
you know what I mean. And like, people will always go back and forth about fear, because some people will say healthy fears is a good way to go. You know what I'm saying? Being scared of
Mm.
consequence, being scared of some things, and I again, you can't downplay it because it's not a fact. Because some people can put healthy fears in their life, and
And it
it
works.
it works, right? Never worked out for me to put a healthy fear in place. That healthy fear will almost always fail me.
Yeah.
You know
Yeah.
what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, so I've just and when we're talking about overcoming,
Hmm.
especially like overcoming addiction and overcoming, you know, trials and tribulations, like the only way to do that's with courage.
Yeah.
To get that sense of overcoming, you know what I'm saying? And to really try to grasp your identity, reclaim who you are. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And that's
It takes bravery, bro. It
and
doesn't take fear. Fear's not going to do that.
yeah, sobriety's not for the weak, man. I
You
always
know what I'm
tell people
saying? It's
that,
about overcoming. It's not about submission.
yeah. Like
You know what I mean?
if you have an actual like if you have full on like alcoholism or addiction, and you find a way to overcome that, and finding in sobriety you a better person, spiritually growing. I mean, whatever, whoever you talk to at the end of the day, if they're making your life better,
Well, I feel like those, like, so we go in the rooms, right? And you see people who are sober. And you
Mm-hmm.
see this a lot. But like people who are sober, they're freaking miserable.
Yeah.
Just miserable.
Yeah.
And I think that plays a big part in it. I think it's because, yes, they're sober. They haven't stepped outside that box to reclaim who they really are.
Yeah.
And it's that healthy fear in place. It's that fear of taking that risk, jumping out there, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
finding out who you really are inside.
Oh, definitely. Like it's like you stop yourself from dying, but you haven't started yourself
Living.
living yet, you
Yeah.
know? Like it's like you're half in and half out of like you're out of the grave, but you're out of the ground, but you're laying on top of the grave kind of thing.
Yeah, you know, you're just
And
there.
and like you haven't even tried to get out of the cemetery yet.
It's just there. You're
You
just
know?
there.
And the only way you're gonna get out of the cemetery is if you get your ass up and walk, you know?
I mean, you can almost call it the Walking Dead.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
just sober zombies.
And like with me, you know, I'm almost 10 months and with me and I've heard it in the room before, the pink cloud, you know. I've heard that analogy to where like when
I
you're
hate that analogy. I'm gonna be honest.
yeah. And then, you know what? When I first heard it, and then like
That
I
pink
actually
cloud means something totally different. In
Yeah.
my addiction.
Yeah. But with me, like I see it as not that like, and I feel like it's like coming out of the honeymoon with sobriety, and now we're in a marriage.
Yeah.
And it's not. I feel like that's a negative connotation of coming out of the pink cloud. I feel like God has given you the power in your own brain to put yourself in whatever position you want to be in. But that point is, it's understanding that, all right, I've gotten past the clouds now. Now it's clear sky.
Right.
And now I have to figure out where the hell I want to go.
Yeah.
And with this is like we were talking about finding ourselves. Man, hell, dude, I'm just trying to figure out who I am now because I think I've forgotten when I was drinking and doing drugs all the time how kind of awesome of a fucking person I am. And this is not coming from a place of fucking ego. This is coming from a place of actuality, like awareness and realizing myself. Is like, damn, dude, and like with that comes a twinge of guilt for the simple fact that I had these gifts that God's given me and I've had them my whole life. And I've been not using them. Like, what's the most selfish thing to slap God in the face with is to not use a gift he's given you, you know? It's like, you know, somebody gives you a Christmas present that could like, your house doesn't have power. Here, we got you a generator and you don't fucking use it. And you sit in that house without power and you're miserable when there's a fucking generator right there, you know? And I feel like that's where I'm starting to realize is I'm cleaning out the cobwebs in my brain and in my house, like what I call my house up here. And now we're going from room to room and we're clearing shit out. And I'm finding shit. I'm like, oh, fuck, I forgot I had that in there. That's cool. And dusting it off and using it again, like music, stand-up comedy, just talking to people, writing. Just, you know, being that person in a room that, like, if the room's a little dim, I could come in and brighten it up a little bit, you know? And I feel like those are gifts that, you know, God gives to all of us, but you just got to realize it. And I'm just realizing like all these gifts that I've been given. Now I got to stop being a selfish bastard and use them and help some people.
Yeah, no, I can agree with that. Like, I was so selfish in my addiction. If like, say we were sitting at your house and you were like, bro, will you walk to the store and get me a Coke? Yeah, but you're buying me one. You're probably buying me a pack of cigarettes. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm just being honest. You know what I mean? That's how it was.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So like, and it was one thing that got instilled into me. You know, again, service work. You know what I mean?
And that's what I need. Yeah.
I saw the value in service work real quick. I saw how it made me feel. And we're not talking about community service.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I think that's another thing people like.
They get the idea of service misconstrued.
Yes, because like, you know, there's no pride in picking up somebody else's trash. There's no pride in, you know what I'm saying, doing irrelevant stuff that people should already be doing.
Mm-hmm.
But it is a genuine good feeling to help people.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I think that's somewhere ingrained in us already, that like something God's given us. It's already pre-wired and ingrained in us from birth. And I just think through human conditioning that it gets stifled out because the world's a lot about survival, preservation, and me. And I feel like that idea of giving back if it's not fostered at an early age, then it kind of dies, man. It's like the imagination. I feel like how people's imagination kind of dies in their childhood. I feel like that idea of the feeling of gratitude of knowing that we're all supposed to be helping each other kind of dies at the same time. And I feel like unless you like understand it and reclaim that and then realize I mean, it's just going to be a perpetual cycle of just like who's fucking who, you know?
Yeah, well, I mean, dude, you see it all the time. Like we shame and shun, and we want to punish somebody, but like we want to teach people through punishment, right? But like, who's out there teaching people to love,
Yeah, it's kind of hard
to
to.
actually love each other?
Yeah,
Like I can do community service all day and still hate you,
yeah,
but if you teach me how to love somebody, then I'm grateful. I'm
yeah,
grateful for your presence in this world, and then again, you're pushing that to the next person because of that gratitude.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
And I feel like it's hard to teach people how to love themselves if you're fucking creating fear in them at the same time. It seems like conflicting ideas. Really, is if like
It's
you're bastardizing and you're shaming somebody for a problem, but you want them to get better. Like it's kind of just seems like that's not the real way you need to really go about it. Now, I'm not saying like there's situations where tough love has to be implemented, but shaming and downtroding somebody or just trying to make them feel lesser than, I feel like that's a lot of, I feel like us, especially as, people in recovery, when people do that to us, I feel like that's more projection on their end and not so much ours. And I feel like we have to realize that. We have to realize when someone's giving tough love and when somebody's projecting their problems on you. And you have to be able to gauge that and take the tough love with, an ear of like, maybe I need to relook at that. But take the projection as, bro, that's your problem, not mine.
you know, so recovery comes from a sense of healing, right?
Yeah,
Like there's got to be a lot of healing,
there gotta
a
be.
whole lot of healing. And when we tell people to air out their problems and we tell people to, kind of expose themselves,
Mm-hmm.
and then we tear them apart with the information given,
Yeah,
it turns into betrayal
yeah.
because you're doing what you're taught to do, and then you just ran through the mud with it.
Yeah, it's like asking somebody to go under the scalpel for surgery and then throwing salt in the wound while you're in there. Like
You
it's
know,
just like, what's the point? And then they're not going to want to do that
oh
anymore.
yeah, they're never
and
coming back.
and they're not going to open up and they're not going to heal and they're going to stay in like what you said, that shell of like, yeah, I'm sober, but fuck, life sucks, bro. Like, and then like for me, when I start thinking, I've gotten this thing and it's really cool. I don't know. I've been listening to podcasts and reading but I used to have a real bad problem like complaining, and I feel like complaining is like one of those things that can like really stink a room up real fast, and it's infectious, man.
Well, there's
Like,
time and place. You know what
yeah,
I'm
I mean,
saying?
there's a time to air out grievances, but when you're just constantly bitching and
Yeah.
moaning about every little thing, like you really need to reevaluate and like for me, the best way for me to like cut that off at its source before it starts snowballing that negativity shit and I have in my head is I have to stop and be grateful for something real quick.
Yeah.
It's like for some odd reason, gratefulness is a fucking cheat code to like getting yourself out of that mentality of like, oh, woe is me. It
Yeah.
sucks. Like,
Well,
and with me and you, with our physical ailments, like I could have used every excuse in the book and no one would even looked at me different if I would have been like, and even now, like I walk around, like, dude, it's so funny. People will be around me, they'll be like, "Oh man, I'm hurting real bad today. I'm hurting real bad today." I'm like,
hey
"Yeah,
man, but I tell you, bro, like as a somebody who goes through it, the
yeah,
people here at Warden Guard Studios will make you feel grateful real quick.
yeah,
Real quick. Like they will make you have some gratitude and some love that comes from a place of love. And like,
and that's a good system to have. That's good people to
dude,
have around you,
bro,
man.
these guys are the best up here, man. Like without them, I'd probably be ran through the mud.
Yeah,
Like,
shout out to the
it's
crew. You guys are
super,
awesome, man.
yeah,
Thanks for
solid,
definitely, yeah.
super solid troop of guys, man. Love y'all.
But like I said, like I've been like I told somebody the other day, I was like, dude, my cheat code for when I start getting in a bad attitude and I start complaining, and I start being like this job is treating me like shit, or like, this person does this person like me? And I'm just like, dude, I'm just grateful to be walking in here and not dead in a ditch somewhere, because I definitely could have been.
Yeah.
Or and I'm grateful that I have a job that needs me. I'm grateful that I have a family that's around. I just have to find things I'm grateful for, and then eventually I dig myself out of that. I'm like,
Yeah. Well, you doing stuff.
yeah,
Do stuff.
Yeah, stuff with your hands, man. Idle
Do
hands are
stuff.
definitely the devil's work, man.
You know, if I'm sitting still and I'm not doing nothing, I'm going crazy.
Yeah,
Like
dude.
I'm already driving myself nuts.
Yeah.
There's even times in meetings where, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know about you, bro, but I hate announcements at the beginning of the meetings.
Yeah,
Like,
just like, can we get to the
they drive me insane, bro. Like
let's
the
get
first 20 minutes of a meeting is the worst because I'm just like, oh my God, I want
like
to leave.
yeah, and like from a chef perspective, you're like, all right, we're done with the amuse bouche. Can we get to the fucking meal
Yeah,
now,
like
please?
let's get to the good stuff. I got
Yeah.
problems.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
Like I got problems. I don't care the cost of coffee.
But like, and like that being said, dude, those rooms really, especially when I was coming in. I mean, you saw me coming
Yeah,
in.
bro.
I came in on a like.
No,
You
they're
can,
good.
you know, Sean, I came in on a fucking walker, man.
I don't knock them. I don't
Yeah.
knock them. You know,
They have definitely helped me, but you know, like, no system's perfect. And
No,
if
it's
it
not.
was, and if the system like, and if any system was perfect, then that means there's no room for growth. So what's the
Well, and that's one thing we have to keep in mind, right? Because we always want to prove our points. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? There's always instead of when the focus is on proving, we're never satisfied because
Mhm.
we can always find fault. We can
Oh yeah,
always find fault.
you can always point a finger.
You know what I'm saying? Always find fault. But when we focus on just improvement,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? I don't have to tell people what they're doing wrong. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Like I don't have to sit there and say, no, this ain't right. All I have to do is try to make it better.
Yeah.
And it's that day to day walk. It's that okay, you're not gonna listen to me, so I gotta show you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like
And
I gotta
then
show you it works, so that way you'll be like, oh, okay, it works.
no.
You know?
And then I feel like there's sometimes when like you do that and then the blame game starts and then that just becomes like a snake eating its own fucking tail.
Yo,
And because it's just like there's no growth coming out of that. And like you said, people trying to prove their point. Well, sometimes points don't need to be proven, they just need to be observed. You know?
right, exactly.
Like it doesn't like no one needs to win an argument. The whole point of it is to see something from different perspectives and come up collectively with a better solution rather than like if it's dude, it's almost like the fucking government. It's like, dude, dude, it gets to the point where it's like left or right, like it's just fucking it's gotten to the point where like nobody wants to reach across the aisle and get anything done. All they want to do is play this dick measuring contest. And like it's not helping and like and I don't know how about it, but like I
Right.
can speak for most people. Like we're in the middle. We're like, dude, get together so we can be cool.
Yeah. So we were having this actual conversation the other day, and they were talking about Republicans and Democrats, and I just they looked at me, and I looked at them back, and I said, "Bro, it's all Chinese. It's all Chinese, bro. Like I don't care if you're speaking English, like it's all Chinese."
Yeah, no, just
And the typical person has no idea what you're talking about. And if anything, it pisses me off when I turn on the news and I see people throwing around billions and billions of dollars, and here I am broke.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like if anything, that's an insult to me.
yeah.
Like I'm listening to rich people deal with rich people problems. I'm so sorry. You know what I mean? Like
Oh yeah, definitely.
I'm it's irrelevant at this
Like,
point
and I
in my
feel like,
life.
yeah, I feel like, dude, like, and dude, when people get caught up in like my brother, not my brother, but like just people around me get caught up in that, and I'm just like, bro,
I can't.
honestly, I'm focused in myself. I don't have time to focus on that.
I can't, bro. Like it's
Like, if it meets me at my doorstep, I'll deal with it. Until then, I really don't care.
it's all just I don't get it. I don't.
Um,
It, when people prey on suffering people, I have a huge problem with
yeah,
it.
that's kind
And
of
you know
like
what I didn't when
that's
I
the
was
exact opposite of
when
what
I
it's supposed to
didn't
be for.
when I guess right when I was living that way, I didn't see a problem with it, right? But when you get right, you get close to God and you start figuring out who you are, develop a problem with it real fast.
Yeah,
You know
and
what I
it's
mean?
like at that point, are you talking to God or are you talking to somebody else?
And it just goes to show you, man, there's people who are in recovery, and there's people
Like,
and it's not just people in addiction. There are really bad people who are sober and are really bad people. And they're
yeah.
okay with it.
Yeah, like I mean, sobriety doesn't have to do with good or bad. It's just one of those things. Like, dude, I've met completely sober people that are assholes, and I'm like, dude,
People don't understand recovery has a universal concept.
yeah,
You know, it is universal. You know what I mean? Like, and it is changing your ways to not be a shitty human being.
Yeah, I mean, like,
You know what I
really,
mean?
if you want to
Like,
boil it all down, like, really, the one message is don't be a dick, man.
yeah,
Like,
basically,
like
basically.
literally
So,
boil it all
Mike
down.
back there, he says
Take,
that almost every day.
dude, literally,
Don't be a
like,
dick.
take every, like, I mean, take Hinduism, Buddhism, Christianity, like, take it all and boil it all down in the same pot, and it all usually concises to one general rule: don't be a dick, man.
Yeah, I love it. Hey, man, we've been talking for a long
I
time,
think we
bro.
got a good one in today, bud.
Yeah, man.
This is fun.
Yeah,
I had a lot of fun.
I have to get you back, bro.
Do this,
Like,
yeah.
we can chop it up a lot.
Oh yeah.
You know, again, Tyler Valentine. Y'all check him out on Facebook, man. Dude's a great chef. Dude knows how to cook. He does his thing.
Hey, dude, come out. I'll cook for you, bro.
Yeah. I want to do a big shout out to Warrior Garden Studios and to all the guys here at Warrior Garden Studios that do a great job of producing our content.
Oh yeah, yeah. Guys do a great job.
You know, Angel Ray, Mission Music. Yeah, Angel Ray.
Angel
my boy.
Ray.
He's good. He's good. I like it. Went saw him at Unity of the Community. He did his thing. I was very proud of him. You know, and these guys here, great men of God. They do service work like none other, man, and it's with love and compassion. I have lots of respect for these dudes.
Good folks.
You know what I'm saying? And with that, y'all, it's Better Days Rain. We're out.